Worried that maintaining a productive garden means constant weeding, watering, and fussing over finicky plants? The reality is that November plantings of certain vegetables practically grow themselves while producing incredible yields all through winter and spring. After growing food for over 30 years, I've discovered that these cold weather crops actually require less work than anything you'll plant in summer. Today, I'm sharing 15 high-producing vegetables that thrive with absolutely no maintenance when planted this month. Make sure you stay through number 10 because it will give you the easiest harvest you've ever grown. And the bonus tip at the end reveals a companion planting secret that eliminates the only real work November gardens usually need. The first vegetable you absolutely must get in the ground this November is garlic. This is quite possibly the most hands-off crop you'll ever grow. And November is the perfect planting window for next summer's harvest. Choose hardy varieties like Music, German Extra Hardy, or Enchelium Red, which are bred specifically for cold winters and reliable production. Simply separate your bulbs into individual cloves, keeping the papery wrapper intact, and push them 2 inches deep into the soil with the pointed end up, spacing them about 4 to 6 inches apart. That's literally all the work you'll do until harvest time next July. Once planted, garlic requires absolutely nothing from you through the entire winter. No watering, no weeding, no protection, no fertilizing, nothing. The cold weather naturally kills most weeds around it, and garlic's natural compounds repel nearly every garden pest you can think of. Come spring, you might pull a few early weeds if you want. But even that's optional, since garlic grows so vigorously, it outcompetes most everything else. From every pound of garlic you plant, expect to harvest 10 to 15 full bulbs, each one larger than what you started with. The return on investment is remarkable, especially considering current grocery store prices for organic garlic. Your November planted garlic will be ready right when stored garlic from last year runs out, giving you perfect timing for continuous supply. Fava beans are the second crop that belongs in every November garden. Also called broad beans, these nitrogen-fixing powerhouses are virtually unknown to many American gardeners, which is unfortunate, because they're one of the easiest crops you'll ever grow. Windsor and Aqua Dulce Claudia varieties are particularly well suited for November planting, thriving in temperatures that would kill most other beans. Unlike summer beans that need constant watering and attract every beetle in the neighborhood, fava beans actually prefer cool, moist conditions and have virtually no pest problems when grown through winter. Plant them directly in the ground about 1 inch deep and 6 inches apart. Then forget about them completely. In zones 7 and warmer, they'll sail through winter without any protection whatsoever. Even in colder zones, they'll survive under a simple row cover with zero additional care. Each plant produces 20 to 30 pods packed with large, protein-rich beans that taste nothing like the dried favas you might have tried before. Fresh fava beans have a sweet, nutty flavor that's absolutely delicious. Because they fix nitrogen in the soil, fava beans actually improve your garden while growing, leaving the soil richer than when you started. They're also self-supporting when you choose dwarf varieties, eliminating any need for staking or trellising. Spinach rounds out our first 3 vegetables, and November planted spinach produces far better than spring sowings ever will. Winter Bloomsdale and Space varieties are specifically bred for cold weather production, developing thicker, sweeter leaves than summer spinach could ever achieve. The secret is that spinach is naturally programmed to grow during cool weather and bolt to seed when days get long and temperatures rise. November planted spinach gets established during the cool fall weather, goes semi-dormant during the coldest part of winter, then explodes with growth in early spring while temperatures are still perfect. You'll harvest thick, succulent leaves for months before the plant even thinks about bolting. Scatter the seeds about 1 inch apart in rows or broadcast them across a bed, rake lightly to cover, and your work is done. Spinach essentially takes care of itself from that point forward. The cold weather keeps aphids and leaf miners away. Slugs and snails are dormant, and diseases that plague summer spinach simply can't develop in cold conditions. You'll get multiple harvests from the same plants by cutting leaves about an inch above the crown, which stimulates rapid regrowth. A small November planting provides enough spinach for fresh salads and cooking all winter long. If you love your grandchildren with all your heart and want to pass on the gift of growing their own food, please hit that subscribe button right now. Every subscription helps us create more videos that you can watch together, teaching them skills that'll last their entire lives. Hit the like button too, and let's keep growing. Mashe, also known as corn salad, is the fourth vegetable that makes November planting so rewarding. This delicate-looking green is actually one of the toughest plants in your winter garden, thriving in conditions that would destroy regular lettuce. Vit and Dutch broadleaf varieties are particularly productive, forming neat little rosettes of tender, nutty-flavored leaves that are prized in high-end restaurants. The beauty of Mashe is its complete independence once planted. Broadcast the tiny seeds over prepared soil. Press them gently into the surface without covering, since they need light to germinate, and walk away. That's genuinely all the attention this crop needs from you. Mashe grows happily in temperatures down to the 20s, actually, preferring cold weather to warm. Pests completely ignore it, diseases rarely affect it, and it produces continuously through the entire winter without any fertilization or special care. You harvest by cutting entire rosettes at soil level, or you can pick individual leaves for smaller salads. The plants often self-sow, meaning next year's crop might plant itself. In French markets, Mashe sells for premium prices because of its tender texture and mild, slightly sweet flavor that pairs beautifully with winter root vegetables. Your November sowing will provide fresh salad greens when everything else in the neighborhood is dormant. Kale deserves the 5th spot on our list because November planted kale develops flavors you simply cannot achieve with spring plantings. Winterbore and Lacinato varieties are exceptional choices, developing incredibly sweet, tender leaves after exposure to frost. The cold weather triggers kale to convert starches into sugars as a natural antifreeze mechanism, completely transforming the flavor from bitter to sweet. Plant transplants or direct seed about 12 inches apart, water them in once, and your involvement ends there. Kale is virtually indestructible in winter conditions, surviving temperatures well below zero in most varieties. The cold weather also eliminates every major kale pest, since cabbage worms, aphids, and flea beetles are long gone by November. You'll harvest leaves all winter long by picking from the bottom up, allowing the center to continue producing new growth. Each plant yields pounds of nutritious leaves over its lifetime. While summer kale can be tough and bitter, requiring massage or long cooking times, winter kale is tender enough for raw salads. The nutritional content is also higher in cold-grown kale, with increased levels of vitamins and antioxidants. A single row of kale planted this November will provide greens for smoothies, soups, salads, and chips all the way through next spring. Winter lettuce is our 6th vegetable, and varieties like Winter Density and Arctic King are specifically bred to thrive in cold conditions that would kill regular lettuce. These varieties have been selected over generations for cold hardiness, developing thicker leaves and stronger root systems than their warm weather cousins. November planting gives lettuce exactly what it wants: cool temperatures, consistent moisture from winter rains or snow, and short days that prevent bolting. Sow seeds about 1/4 inch deep and 6 inches apart for heading types, or broadcast loosely for a cutting bed of baby leaves. After germination, these lettuces require absolutely no care from you. They grow slowly but steadily through winter, developing exceptional flavor and texture. The beauty of winter lettuce is the complete absence of typical lettuce problems. No aphids, no slugs actively feeding, no tip burn from heat, no bitter flavors from stress. You can harvest entire heads or treat them as cut and come-again crops, taking outer leaves while the center continues producing. In most zones, a simple floating row cover is all the protection needed, and even that's optional in milder areas. Your November planted lettuce will provide fresh salads when grocery store lettuce costs peak during winter months. Collards take the 7th position and might be the most underappreciated winter vegetable in American gardens. Champion and Georgia Southern varieties are practically bulletproof, surviving temperatures that would destroy most vegetables while producing massive yields of nutritious greens. Plant seeds are transplants about 18 inches apart, and that's essentially the last time you'll need to tend them until harvest. Collards are incredibly self-sufficient, developing deep taproots that find water and nutrients without any help from you. The cold weather sweetens collards just like it does kale, but collards produce much larger leaves with a mellower flavor. While many gardeners think collards are just a southern crop, they actually perform better in cold weather than heat. Winter-grown collards are tender, sweet, and completely different from the tough, bitter leaves you might have encountered from summer growing. Pest problems are non-existent in cold weather, and diseases that affect brassicas in warm conditions can't develop in winter cold. You'll harvest huge leaves all winter long, with each plant producing enough for multiple meals. The plants actually become more productive after each harvest, sending out new growth from the center. A small patch of collards planted this November will provide greens for traditional New Year's meals and continue producing well into next summer. Arugula is number 8 on our list, and this peppery green might be the ultimate no-maintenance crop for November planting. Both standard astro and perennial wild rocket varieties thrive in cool weather, producing far superior leaves to anything grown in warm conditions. The spicy flavor that many people find overwhelming in summer arugula becomes pleasantly peppery and complex when grown in cold weather. Broadcast seeds liberally over prepared soil, rake lightly, and you're done with the planting process. Arugula germinates quickly even in cool soil and grows vigorously without any fertilization or special care. The plant is naturally resistant to most pests and diseases, and the few that might affect it are dormant in cold weather. You'll get multiple cuttings from the same planting by harvesting leaves when they're about 3 to 4 inches long, which stimulates rapid regrowth from the crown. Wild rocket is particularly productive, often surviving multiple years and self-sowing prolifically. This means your November planting might be the last time you ever need to sow arugula. The leaves are perfect for adding zip to winter salads, sandwiches, and pizzas. Fresh arugula also makes an excellent pesto when you have an abundance. Each cutting yields more leaves than the last, until plants finally bolt in late spring. Asian greens are the 9th vegetable group that makes November planting so worthwhile. Tatsoi and prize choy, bok choy are standout varieties that actually prefer cold weather to warm, developing thick, succulent leaves and stems that are impossible to achieve in summer heat. These greens are incredibly fast-growing even in cool weather, often ready for harvest in just 45 days from seeding. Direct sow them about 6 inches apart for full-sized plants, or closer together for baby greens. Water once to settle the soil, and let winter take care of the rest. Asian greens are remarkably self-sufficient, requiring no fertilization or pest management when grown in cold weather. The flea beetles that pepper summer Asian greens with tiny holes are completely absent in November, and the aphids that cluster in warm weather won't appear. You can harvest these versatile greens at any size, from tiny baby leaves for salads to full-sized heads for stir-fries and soups. Tatsoi forms beautiful rosettes that lie flat against the ground, naturally protecting themselves from cold while producing spoon-shaped leaves with incredible flavor. The stems and leaves of bok choy provide different textures in the same plant, giving you crispy stalks and tender greens from a single harvest. Both types produce abundantly through winter with zero maintenance required. Onion sets claim the 10th spot and represent one of the easiest ways to grow onions successfully. Stuttgarter and Red Baron, Sets planted in November will be ready for harvest by early summer, growing steadily through winter without any attention from you. Sets are simply small onion bulbs grown the previous year, and they're far more reliable than growing onions from seed. Push each set into soft soil until just the tip shows, spacing them about 4 inches apart for full-sized bulbs or closer for green onions. Once planted, onion sets are completely maintenance-free. They don't need fertilization. They naturally suppress weeds around them, and onions' pungent compounds repel most garden pests. The slow, steady growth through winter produces onions with better storage quality and milder flavor than quick-growing spring-planted onions. You can harvest some as green onions throughout winter and spring, thinning the planting while enjoying fresh scallions. The remaining bulbs will size up beautifully for summer harvest. From a pound of sets, you'll harvest 10 to 15 pounds of full-sized onions. Sets eliminate the trickiest part of onion growing, which is getting them started from seed, while giving you a much earlier harvest than spring-planted onions. Your November-planted sets will be forming bulbs, while spring-planted onions are just getting established. Radishes are number 11, and winter varieties like Cherry Belle and China Rose are completely different from the quick-growing spring radishes most gardeners know. Winter radishes grow slowly, but develop incredible size and sweetness that fast-growing varieties never achieve. These varieties can grow as large as softballs while maintaining perfect texture and mild flavor. Sow seeds directly about 1 inch apart and 1/2 inch deep. Thin them once to about 4 inches apart, and that's all the attention they'll need until harvest. Winter radishes are virtually pest-proof since the flea beetles and root maggots that plague spring radishes are dormant in cold weather. The slow growth in cool conditions prevents the pithy, hollow centers that develop in heat-stressed radishes. You can leave them in the ground all winter in most climates, harvesting as needed since the cold soil acts like natural refrigeration. China Rose types develop beautiful pink flesh with white skin, adding gorgeous color to winter salads. They're also excellent pickled, roasted, or added to soups and stews. The greens are edible too, providing a peppery addition to salads when harvested young. A single row planted this November provides fresh radishes for months, with each one growing larger and sweeter as winter progresses. Turnips deserve the 12th position because they're one of the most productive and versatile winter vegetables you can grow. Purple top white globe and hackaway varieties thrive in cold weather, producing both edible roots and nutritious greens from the same plant. November sowing gives turnips ideal conditions with cool temperatures that develop sweet, mild roots instead of the harsh, bitter flavor many people associate with turnips. Direct seed about 1/4 inch deep and thin to 4 inches apart for full-sized roots, or leave them crowded for baby turnips and abundant greens. After thinning, turnips require absolutely no care whatsoever. They grow happily through winter, developing sweet roots underground while producing tender greens above. The cold weather eliminates typical brassica pests, and turnips are naturally resistant to most diseases. Hackaway turnips are particularly special, developing pure white roots with such sweet, mild flavor that they're delicious eaten raw like apples. You can harvest turnip greens continuously without affecting root development, giving you 2 crops from one planting. The roots store perfectly in the ground through winter, getting sweeter with each frost. Young turnip greens are excellent in salads, while mature leaves are perfect for Southern-style cooking. A small patch planted this November provides fresh vegetables when there's little else available in the garden. Peas are the 13th vegetable, though November planting only works in zone 7 and warmer where the ground doesn't freeze solid. Sugar Snap and Oregon. Sugar Pod 2 are excellent choices, producing edible pods that eliminate the tedious shelling required with traditional peas. These cool season lovers actually prefer the moderate temperatures of late fall and early spring to the heat of summer. Plant seeds about 1 inch deep and 2 inches apart along a fence or trellis, though dwarf varieties like Oregon sugar pod de pan can grow without support. Once they germinate, peas are remarkably self-sufficient. They fix their own nitrogen, so they need no fertilization and actually improve the soil for following crops. The cool weather keeps aphids away, and powdery mildew that plagues summer peas can't develop in cold, dry winter air. You'll harvest sweet, crunchy pods continuously once production begins, with each picking stimulating more flower and pod production. Fresh peas from the garden in late winter and early spring are an incredible treat, far superior to anything available in stores. The shoots and tendrils are also edible, prized in high-end restaurants for their delicate pea flavor. November-planted peas will be producing abundantly, while spring-planted peas are just getting started. Carrots are number 14, and November sowing works beautifully in zone 7 and warmer where the soil doesn't freeze deeply. Napoli and Mokum varieties are particularly well suited for winter growing, developing exceptional sweetness that summer carrots never achieve. The secret to November planted carrots is that slow growth in cool soil produces incredibly sweet, dense roots with complex flavor. Sow seeds about 1/4 inch deep in loose, stone-free soil, keeping them consistently moist until germination, which can take 2 to 3 weeks in cool weather. Once sprouted, thin them to about 2 inches apart, and that single thinning session is all the work these carrots will need from you. The cool weather completely eliminates carrot rust fly, the main pest that affects this crop, and the slow growth prevents cracking and splitting that occurs with fast-growing summer carrots. Winter carrots develop more sugars as a natural antifreeze protection, making them incredibly sweet and flavorful. You can leave them in the ground all winter, harvesting as needed since the cold soil preserves them perfectly. The flavor actually improves after frost exposure. Mulch heavily in colder areas to prevent the ground from freezing solid around them. Your November-planted carrots will be ready for harvest in early spring, providing fresh roots when stored carrots are getting soft and sprouting. Swiss chard rounds out our list at number 15, and while it's less cold-hardy than other greens, November planting works well in zones 7 through 10. Bright Lights and Ford Hook Giant varieties offer spectacular color and reliable production through mild winters. Chard is unique among greens because it's actually a beet grown for leaves instead of roots, which explains its incredible productivity and resilience. Plant seeds about 1/2 inch deep and 6 inches apart, or start with transplants for faster establishment. Once growing, chard is remarkably self-sufficient, requiring no fertilization or special care through winter. The plant produces continuously using a cut and come-again method where you harvest outer leaves while the center keeps producing new growth. A single chard plant can provide harvest for 6 months or more. The colorful stems of Bright Lights add beautiful color to winter gardens and plates, with red, yellow, orange, pink, and white stems, all from the same seed packet. Chard is virtually pest and disease-free in cool weather, and it tolerates both cold and heat better than most greens. The leaves are incredibly versatile in the kitchen, working equally well in salads, when young, or cooked dishes when mature. Your November-planted chard will produce steadily through winter and continue right through next summer in many climates. And now for that bonus tip that can transform your November garden's productivity. The secret is planting white clover as a living mulch between your rows of winter vegetables. This isn't the typical mulching advice you hear everywhere. White clover fixes nitrogen while growing, feeding your vegetables throughout winter without any fertilizer applications. It forms a dense mat that completely suppresses weeds, eliminating the only real maintenance November gardens usually need. The clover stays low, never competing with your vegetables for light, while its roots break up compacted soil and improve drainage. Simply broadcast Dutch white clover seeds between your vegetable rows after planting, and it creates a self-maintaining carpet that works continuously. When spring arrives and you're ready to plant warm season crops, you can till the clover under for a massive nitrogen boost, or keep patches as permanent pathways that never need mulching or weeding again. This single trick eliminates weeding, reduces watering needs, prevents soil erosion, and provides free fertilizer all winter long. It's like having a garden assistant that works 24 hours a day for the price of a small packet of seeds. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.